Hey, every pony.
Hello.
I can't stop myself. Okay, let's start.
Today, let's get in here. We're going to get the lamp effect.
I
It's
don't
very
have it.
important.
I can't
Yeah,
see
but
in dark places. That's been the problem the last two episodes, and now we're gonna fix it. Okay.
all right. So, dude, how about you look on the map, and it will probably show you to the next location.
Ooh. Hold on. Hmm. Okay, let me check the wiki again.
This place looks so
Cool,
cool.
let's see. This is my first time doing this, okay? I'm kinda slow.
It's okay, man. Just relax. Look at the bright
Oh,
side.
what is there?
How about you tell them what time it is where you live for a
It's
little reference point?
It's 3:22 a.m. There is no bright side. It is completely dark outside. Where the... Hold on. Oh, there it is. Okay. It says, travel south at the first intersection near the cave's entrance. Okay, I need to find a cave. South. After that... Southernmost wall. Head east, south, north, and you should find a dead end.
Okay, I found it.
Oh,
Follow me.
okay. Southernmost wall, huh? Hold on. Okay, let's go.
I'm pretty sure this is it.
Oh, this looks like a big
Then you
pit.
go in.
Okay. Whoa.
It should be somewhere around here. I already got the effect.
Yeah, I
But
wanted to ask, like, if you have the effect already, does it not appear?
no, I don't think so.
Alright. I'll tell you if I see anything strange.
Anyway, so what were we supposed to talk about today?
That's a good question. Oh, look, a bench. Hold on, I want to find this thing first. I found some yellow paper.
Well, I don't think this is a different location.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's go back then. The instructions said southernmost wall. So I
I'm pretty
guess
sure.
going south would be the answer. Looks like a dead end, but this ain't the
Yeah,
place.
okay.
Hold on. We've been going very east.
What the fuck?
He seems lost. Oh, I found it. There you go.
Alright,
Oh,
perfect.
great. It turned off the lights. I have to use this thing. Oh my god. It's
Cool.
so bright. Yeah,
Alright, so where do you want to go next?
let's go try to find a place to sit so you can start the conversation then. I'll
I
probably
probably
like...
want to go find someplace over. How about we wake up and go back to Nexus?
Oh, alright. Oh, wrong button.
Someplace with some nice BGM. Um,
This cave's music is kind of ominous.
yeah. How about maybe Lotus Waters? It's
Lotus
been a while
water.
since I've been there.
Alright. I better have some waterfall ruins Undertale vibes.
Oh, well, that's not Lotus Waters.
Damn it. Where are you? Oh.
Uh, do I have to guide? Or
I have
can you
no
look it up and
idea
you'll be
where it
fine?
is.
Alright,
You're
so
more efficient.
let me open up the Yume wiki. So how about you talk about, you start the conversation and I'll first
Okay.
focus on guiding us.
Alright. So, I... The plan was for today to be talking about personality typology systems. He is going to be Enneagram pilling me, and I was going to tell him about the Digibro neurotyping chart. But the thing is, I'm sure you already know about it, and I think as long as you get like a
I don't know
decent
that
explanation
much.
about it. Well, okay, did you watch like the hour-long video he made?
Yes,
Like
I
the
did
one that
watch it, but I
started
watched it like years ago. Go to the Red Street Lamp World. It's right above the Nexus store.
Yeah, there you are.
Perfect. Okay. Keep going.
Okay, so yeah, but if you watch that video, I think I don't need to explain to you much. As long as you get the basic concept, you got it down. It's a simple system, but I talked about it at length in a video that I made already on my personal channel on Napkin, and that video pretty much explained everything that I thought about it, I suppose, or like why it appealed to me so much in a 20-minute video chunk. And I don't know, I guess I just don't feel like repeating myself on something that you could already find in that video. So, there is another typology system that I am very interested in. I'm really only into these two typology systems. I don't care about MBTI, and I've never really been into Enneagrams, really. And all the other ones, if they do exist, I haven't heard of them. But I have heard of Homestuck, and there is a great typology system in there. It's called Classpecting. Now, I'm probably gonna fumble on how I'm gonna explain this, but it's fine. I think you're gonna get, if you ever do get to reading Homestuck, you won't really get a decent explanation in the beginning, so I just kind of want to at least...
Nope. Back out. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, okay. I just want to at least introduce you to the system, because they kind of, all the characters have been already typed into the typology system of Classpecting, and you won't really understand what they mean or what their roles are. So I think it's best if I give you a short introduction. All right. So
now, can I just bring something up?
Yeah.
It's really funny. I remember watching a Digibro rant on Homestuck fans, and he was kind of making fun of the people that, I think it was like the romance squares. I don't remember what he specifically talked about.
The romantic quadrants.
They said that was like, the romantic quadrants were like stupid, and they were like making fun. Like, Hussey was like dissing people that think this way because, you know, it's kind of like a stupid concept for fitting into these made up squares. But if this other feature is something he didn't talk about, then, you know, maybe he's like, the concept itself was just Hussey introducing his system for understanding psychology into Homestuck. I don't think this is the way.
Oh.
Does it do anything when you go out? No. Let me look at I need to look up the wiki. Okay.
Alright, I'll continue then.
Now,
I'll just say about those quadrants. I mean, I also have my own thoughts about them, but they are pretty stupid, and it's only meant to explain how trolls have romance. I'm not gonna get into it here, but like if you compare it to humans, it's not really all that different. Like, it's not a very complex system, and it's basically just how humans already do that, but it's just given labels and names. It's pretty stupid. However, this one's different. All right. Classpecting, classes and aspects. There's really only two things that will define a person in this typology system. And what's interesting about it is that it's not really about personalities. It's not trying to describe how a person acts. It's more so how the system is trying to explain how a person would interact with the universe and the environment around them. This one isn't really meant to explain personalities, but there's a lot of connective tissue there that Andrew Hussey kind of written into Homestuck. So, for example, a person with this archetype would usually act this way, and then fans would start connecting everything together. What's kind of also interesting about Classpecting is that there's no real rules, there's no canon explanation to say. Like we get a brief introduction into what it means and what it does, but after like a couple of images that the writer gave us, everything is the Wild West basically, and all the interpretations for the system is correct. What is concrete are the 12 original classes and aspects that are introduced, and that is it. That's what everyone agrees on. So yeah, what are classes and what are aspects? Aspects is the writer's way of basically dividing the universe up into 12 things, 12 domains, and this is how characters interact with them instead of like as a big object, I suppose. To give examples of aspects, there are space, time, hope, doom, mind, heart, rage, void. There are 12 of them, and I can't recall all of them off the top of my head. But yeah.
I see.
All of these different domains mean different things. So space and time is normally about creativity and freedom, space is about creativity and freedom, but time is about order and functionality. Void is about nothing and like the mysteriousness of it, while light is about information and what is there that exists about the universe, I suppose, as the opposite of void. There's also, because there's 12, there's a lot of dichotomies, and it's like divided into a circle. That's the way that the writer gave it to us, I guess. And you can make a lot of similarities and differences between the different aspects. So, for example, hope and doom, those are obviously opposite of each other. Hope is about good emotions, I suppose, and you get the point. Doom is mostly about inevitability and the badness of the future. I don't fucking know. It's at 4 a.m.
Okay.
So yeah, as long as you understand that these aspects just divide the universe into 12 different things and they mean different things, I guess you get it. Classes.
What does this have to do with the story, though?
Okay. So in Homestuck, it's
Try and be spoiler free.
Yeah, I'm going spoiler free. You already know that Homestuck is like an RPG video game kind of thing, right? These characters are put
Generally
into
speaking.
a video game. This Classpecting role, this typology systems role in the game is to give them classes. Like, it's the same deal as giving them tanks or warriors or mages roles. It's replaced with the Classpecting system.
Oh, that doesn't sit. You can't sit. That's so stupid.
Oh wait, is this? Are we already at the lunar waters?
Yes, this is the Lotus Waters.
Okay,
That's why I've been here the whole time. I guess I'll just sit down.
I'm so tired from all this biking. Alright, yeah, let's just hang out here. Hold on.
I think I can take it off.
This is the only decal that I got that I can wear.
I'll just sit down.
Alright.
Interesting.
After I explain classes, you can get to yours. Classes are basically how characters interact with their aspects. There's giving, there's creating, there's destroying. Those aren't the actual roles, but after that it gets divided into active and inactive roles. Active is when you interact with that aspect for others, but when it's inactive, you interact with that aspect for yourself. Hold on. Okay. So Oh my god, these are fan
Oh, so can you get out
interpretations.
of
I
that
can't
stupid
believe this.
spacesuit and
No, what do you
just
mean?
be normal?
What do you mean
Oh,
be
for some
normal?
reason, I thought, I don't know, for my screen, it was like, yeah, sometimes the effect will like not blend in with the rest of the background with the sort of filter layer it has. So it will like be bright all of a sudden. Because you see everything has this like bubble layer over it. Yeah, just
Yeah,
take
it
a seat.
does. How do I take a seat? How do I sit down?
You just hold Z.
Oh, while not having any effects on?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, hold on. Oh, now I
perfect.
feel comfortable.
You got it. Now we're comfy. We're bros. Sitting
Yeah.
in whatever the fuck this is. I
Alright.
think this is like one of the first worlds that like I would call it quote unquote went viral. It's like stuff that people would sort of post around this. The theme for it was like really popular. It had like a couple
Yeah.
100,000 views a couple years, even for like a couple thousand years. It was the most popular world of its time. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I'm just gonna say the music here is pretty chill.
Yeah.
Okay. After I explain classes, we can get to your thing. So I
Okay.
explained there's active and passive or inactive roles, and all of them interact with their aspect in a different way: reviving, protecting, understanding, changing, and then stealing and stuff. These get divided again: active, passive, and there's a bunch of names for them. So, for example, an active protecting role would be a knight, and an active understanding role would be a seer. An inactive commanding role would be a witch. There's a thief and a rogue, active, passive, and then there's destroying, which is prince and bard. It's honestly, if I just list them out, it'd be hard to understand or take in, because there's 24 different terms that you need to come in understanding with. But yeah, let's give an example of like a person's typology. So let's say a seer of hope. That would be a person that understands hope. And then there's a sylph of rage. That would be a person who sort of heals rage in some way. And just a few more examples. There's a rogue of doom. They would steal doom and then spread it to others. And then there's the page of light that would receive light or be given or be served light or information from others. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of wanted to give you a bunch of new terminology that would be helpful for you that whenever you read Homestuck. I find it pretty interesting.
Yeah, that will be a while from now.
Yeah.
But I can go back to this video whenever I want. Whoa.
Whoa.
Okay.
I get it all now.
Yeah, now
it
it's
all
my
makes
turn.
sense.
I know. But I guess I could probably be a lot more detailed in my descriptions because, you know, I've been with PD, you know, personality typing for like a better part of like 3 years. It's like it was sort of like an on-off thing. I would just be like, huh, interesting. I feel like I get the general conceit of what how these people are categorizing these characters. But once I actually read up on what the descriptions are, I guess I finally like I know this might sound obvious, but it clicked for me because these people were talking about these different writers who were like, oh, this is what each system means. It's like a definition. So let me talk about it in the terms of disliking something. So it started when I first started getting into this. It was sort of like MBTI. It's like the entry level stuff. The problem is that MBTI sucks, and it's for a couple reasons. Basically, any MBTI is based on generally cognitive functions. Essentially, it's these four main ways of how your mind materializes and processes information and acts on that information. And it's 8 main components. It's TITE, FIFE, SISE, and NINE. And essentially, these cognitive functions are utilized based on what your 4 main letters are and how they materialize. It's called your, I think it's called your cognitive stack or whatever. Essentially, the cognitive function you use the most is your dominant function,
Hey, bro.
and the cognitive function that you use the least is your recessive inferior function, something like that. But you kind of get what I'm saying. Now the reason I have a problem with this is that because it is inferior functions. Okay, it's dominant, auxiliary, tertiary, inferior. Okay, now and they're derived from this guy named Harold Grant or something. Anyway, the problem I have with that is that it absolutely obliterates nuance. Okay, there's these people you'll get when they realize that a character has high FE, but they also have high TI. Essentially, oh, they're balancing their functions, so what type could they be? And essentially you'll get arguments of people being like, he has a dominant of version of this function, but he also has a dominant version of this function that is incompatible with the function stack of this type. You get what I mean? Because by nature of what the type's definitions are, it's based on a spectrum, and at that point you're basically saying how certain and you'll even get some like completely absurd terminologies like that aren't even in most descriptive texts. It's like, this is what they'll come with terms such as looping or what is it called, shadow functions. Essentially it's like
what the fuck?
Let me bring up an example. An ENTP essentially has this function stack: NETIFESI. So if you start using TE or the TE function, it's not on there. So it's a shadow function because essentially oh my god, this is the combination of actually, I don't know if this is true at all, because like if you go into the forums, it's just like people arguing this, but from what I think it's essentially the combination of two other functions that show off as this other function that isn't in the function stack. So TI and FE combine to make TE or something along those lines. And at that point I'm just like, I feel like this model itself is fundamentally flawed in the ability to illustrate the complexity of human psychology. And that's the thing. That's what these systems are for. They're for describing people and or characters and or just general psychological ideas. All right? And the basis for that has to be able to illustrate everything. All right? So that's why I find these like scales to be kind of contradictory, because it's like, for one person to be this type, they can't show this function. And therefore, when they do show that function, you get people saying like, oh, well, they're just, these types can show this function and this type can show this function. You people are basing off stereotypes, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, this is not productive. So that's when I became interested in the Enneagram. The Enneagram works a little differently. Essentially, you've seen the model. It's like a big circle and has like 9 dots all around it, correct?
Okay, well, let me Google search that. I've been thinking about the MBTI thing. Was your problem with it that, like, people have functions and personalities, but they can show other personalities, and it's a loose system, and...
That's true, but I think there's also one other issue I have with it, and that's like the vagueness and misunderstanding of what certain functions are. Okay, so let me illustrate to you. Okay, I told you NE, basically the E stands for extroverted, introverted. People have already talked about how this is kind of questionable to begin with. Like, what makes somebody an extrovert or an introvert? Do they enjoy social attention, or do they not enjoy social attention? Or maybe it's about the situation they're in, and that can illustrate how extroverted, introverted they appear because of the people around them, the nature versus nurture of the psychology. Generally, I do agree that some people are more introverted than others. By nature of, like, I guess, social anxiety, general social psychology. But I guess that also does have to do with different countries can have different social norms. Some people don't fit into them, but might fit into others. It's complicated, but generally, if you're around people, you're not happy, or you're happy when you're around people, or you're happy when you're not around people. The main problem I have is with the intuition versus sensation, because people get these mixed up all the time because of how the concept of the function is categorized. Okay, essentially, intuition is implied to be, oh, you're really in your head, or you're very expressive with your thoughts, while sensation is like, oh, you're very talkative, and you use a lot of, you're very physical with things. And that is like such a narrow way of describing how people can think. Like, just because people can have inner worlds and not show it, or like illustrate it and be very talkative, but that doesn't mean that they don't have thoughts. It's the difference between like NI versus SI. People get them mixed up all the time, because especially when it comes to stories or like narratives, because the nature of how the information of their inner monologue is communicated naturally tends towards different ways of communicating these types of psychological traits. And also, there's a lot of stereotypes between thinkers and feelers. And you think about it in like thinkers are super cold and logical and stuff like that, while feelers are, oh, they're so kind and thoughtful, and they're emotional, they're not logical. Which is,
Lol.
it's like, again, perpetuating stereotypes. The entire base of these functions are not clearly defined for most people, and then even when you do define them, you'll get people that just like don't understand the use of these functions, in the fact that they don't really illustrate anything concrete. They're just like observations.
Right.
I guess I will
They're
say
vague.
there's one thing that I do think that MBTI is good for, and that's generally categorizing how people act, not what they think, but how they act. It's like, if a certain function is more dominant than others, that is a way of I guess it's describing a lot more on the surface traits. An NE is very loud and verbose, and they usually have a lot of ideas and very talkative. A TI is very logical and cold and quiet, and usually keeps to himself, and doesn't make a lot of friends, and is very solid, very solid. And SI is like, I guess, a lot more studious. He's very based within his working on his stuff, and blah 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 blah. Of course, very broad terms, but like still, it's a lot more easier to interpret, and I think that's why it's become the most popular, because it allowed people who are into MBTI, they see other people and they're like, oh yeah, that's like pure FE behavior. And it's like very obvious because it's based on stereotypes, because you're not really getting into the nitty gritty of the psychology. It's just like the general behaviors and how general social functions work, in the sense that like people are all communicating with each other. Some people tend to err towards certain functions and in specific situations compared to others. And like, yeah, because that's how people work, but it's not psychology. It doesn't feel like psychology, I guess. Let's say that.
All right.
Anyway, so now moving on to Enneagram. I'm done shitting on MBTI.
Good.
What do you see when you Googled it?
I see. I don't know how else to explain it. It looks demonic. It looks like a ritual circle. Yeah,
Oh boy,
that's what I see.
Okay. The Enneagram is, oh my god, this fucking music. The Enneagram is based around 9 letters. Okay, you see them all around the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know. It's comfy to me because I guess it's a lot easier to communicate, in the sense that like, wow, these numbers are very simplistic, and you can just say, oh, this is you're a real 9, or you got pure 7 vibes, just shit like that. How the Enneagram system works is that it's not based on like a set of functions, although there are parts of that later, in the sense that like, yes, there is a bit of a scale, but that comes later. On the baseline, people basically, the Enneagram is based on motivation. It's like, how do you approach the world, I guess, or like your thought processes? What do they I guess you could even call it like motivations. Generally, they're just like a specific rock. It's like the foundation for which every other motivation and way of life and communication and discussion and stuff like that is based around. So the one is based on, I guess you could call it order. It's realizing a specific worldview and believing in what's right, I guess. So these people tend to be very orderly. They like to, they like to enforce rules. They like to be, I wouldn't call it like correct, but more like they have a strong moral character. Okay. E1s would be someone like, I guess I'll just use Hunter x Hunter for example, because Hunter x Hunter is
Dude,
like,
sick.
have you seen Hunter x Hunter?
Yeah, I did.
Hunter x Hunter is a pretty,
Kurapika.
easy way to communicate these psychologies. Kurapika, Kurapika is basically his entire character is, I need to get revenge for the people that killed my bloodline, and I will be very and he's like into, also it's like dedication. It's like he's purely dedicated to that goal, and he's very determined about it. Okay.
Gotcha.
The E2 is based around there's not a lot of E2s in Hunter x Hunter. Damn, okay, maybe this wasn't the right series. I guess there is one.
I've seen like Durarara being given a lot of hyping because there's a lot of different characters.
I haven't watched Durarara.
Oh well. Bacano's decent as well.
I guess I can. No, I haven't seen Bacano either.
Oh my,
it's been a while.
Are you even an anime
I know.
fan?
I know. I should just
whatever.
die. Anyway, E2s are based around, I guess, they are dedicated to. Oh my back. Caring for other people. Essentially, they really care about being useful to others, and that's how they derive their self-worth. So these people tend to be very kind, motherly, affectionate. Their worth is derived from other people valuing them for who they are, or like for what they give, for what they provide. So one would probably be like the Chimera Ant Queen, her entire.
Okay then.
Or something, or Gon's mom. Gon's mom, his entire character is based on caring for Gon, and a lot of E2s tend to be mom or motherly in quality, and I guess that is in and of itself a stereotype, but most people just sort of accept it because it kind of gets the point across. So E3s, however, are E3s are based their value on, I guess, their appearance to other people. I guess it's like being high of moral quality, and I guess E3s, I don't know, sometimes I don't really get the complications because like they're very vague, but think about it like status. If they want to be the best, they want to have the most. I think a good example would be Patrick Bateman from American Psychos, but if we do the Hunter x Hunter equivalent, it would be like Pariston, the guy at the very end of the series who's like a politician. His entire goal is to earn the affection and adoration of others, so that I guess that's where they get their self-worth. Okay. I guess maybe Leorio would go into that camp, but it's been a while since I've seen Hunter x Hunter. E4s are pretty complicated. Basically, I guess their personality is based on their isolation from other people. I think they're probably the types that I personally dislike the most. Essentially, their character I have biases, okay? Their character is or the personality is based on, I guess, a perceived dissonance from other people, and this can manifest as envy, but it also generally manifests as in a creative pursuit. It's in a sense to their pain that they that they have for themselves is expressed in art, and a distinct goal to differentiate themselves from other people and be seen for quote unquote who they really are. And I guess that's yeah, it's different from like other types that are like very isolated for themselves. Essentially, their pain is their personality. It's what what they grafted themselves to be.
I was thinking like any generic snarky anime protagonist.
No, probably like
Sasuke,
the edgy characters, generally speaking.
All right.
I haven't finished Naruto. E5s, I am one of these.
Me
Essentially,
too.
E5s, I know, very awesome. E5s are based around, I guess, a form of knowledge gathering, but essentially it's more of resource collecting. It's more of staying within their own mind so that they can feel a sense of security within themselves. It's like that's why some of the characters they really care about trusting other people, but most of them are generally just isolated with themselves, feeling comfortable being within their little bubble. All right, and I think a decent manifestation might be Ging, who basically just fucking leaves his son because he wants to go adventuring, and it could have been based on a inability to, I guess, truly feel, or just like a desire to explore and see more of the world, rather than just being stuck on his laurels in his, with his son. But it's a fucking piece of shit anyway. Anyway,
Parental
the
abandonment
sixth
sure
wing.
is based.
I know that
Anyways.
sucks. The sixth wing is pretty simplistic, but it's also the most diverse type. It's like I've seen so many characters classified as E6 because, and that usually is very boring to me. But I kind of get it now. Essentially, the E6 is basically makes their environmental um isolation. Or again, isolation. More like um they want to feel protected, and I guess they see, they're very they cover for threats, and they're kind of always feel like they're being threatened by multiple angles, so they really care about being comforted and being around, having a certain level of security. And this manifests in multiple different ways, but I think one would be Killua. Basically, his entire character is being on Gon's side and having, like, that one friend. So even though he had kind of like a traumatic upbringing, he's, that's the point is to break past his family ties and, just be by the person that he cares about. And that gives him, and that therefore all of his sort of strengths are based on a certain level of security that he has to keep going by his side. And that's why the Chimera Ant arc is like it's major character building for Killua, because he has to confront that main uh, problem of his. So the next type is the 7. The 7 is basically like the people who just care about enjoying themselves, and I guess that manifests as people who they really like the thrills of life, quote unquote. So they do everything that makes them happy, and that includes, like, I guess, a certain level of joyriding, drunkenness, just seeking out the next pleasurable thing. And that could be described as someone like Hisoka, who basically he wants a fight with Gon because he just enjoys fighting. It's like something that brings him pleasure, so he'll always be chasing out new opponents to be beating up. And you can see this as that one fight with Gon. He literally like orgasms, and it's like one of the weirdest scenes
God.
in fucking anime. Yeah, shit like that. I'm like, well, okay, cool for you, bro, but goddamn, get a room. The next character is the 8 wing, and the 8 wing, I guess, is more about a certain level of pride of being in, I guess, how do I put this? Self-dependent. They enjoy the fact that they want to be stronger. I wouldn't say be like stronger in the sense that it gives them anything more than just the pleasure of being able to stand on their own. So one would probably be like Meruem, where his entire character is being the king of the ants, and the fact that he is the strongest among like all of humanity and conquering. It's like it's literally within his nature to dominate, and that is that's part of his character. And the last one is the 9 wing, and the 9 wing is basically the idea of, I don't know, the core desire is to not do anything. I guess it's to
Okay.
relax and live a peaceful life, and just maintain the sort of standard of living that they have continued to maintain. So anything that goes against that is a threat. And people like that, they're usually very calm and relaxed, and they're personally one of my favorite types. But I guess a good example would be probably um maybe Kokomi, in the sense that she's very calm and just wants to play her game of shoji or whatever with her with
Alright.
Meruem or whomever. Essentially, yeah, those are the 9 types. So
Dude, sick.
Essentially, there's even more because this is just like the baseline because it keeps going deeper in the fact that all these different types in a way within the system interact with each other and create these fractals of depth because like you can have your main type and that's your main way motivation, but there's also different ways that the type in and of itself manifests, and they interact with the other types in fixes, and there's instinctual variance, and there's symbolism in the sense that like you can even call it like a some people have likened certain parts of the Enneagram to Christian symbolism, and I think that's a little too far of a stretch. I don't want to go down the like the what do you call it? Separation of church and state. It's like secular, freaking whatever area, because I want this to be like, even though this is sacrilege, it's all pseudoscience, okay? But let's like keep it within the realm of possibility for agnostic people, I guess. So essentially, how do I start this? There's these things called instinctual variants. Basically, the social, the sexual, and the self-preservation instincts. Essentially, each type can manifest within these three ways, and therefore, there's not 9, but 27. And so basically, generally, the social instinct is people that are a lot that express their Enneagram in a more, or the Enneagram itself is more allocated towards social interaction. All right? It is more general. So the social 1 would be very keen on appearances. The social 2 is someone who keen on appearance. Okay, we'll go back to social 1. Social 1 is keen on appearances and appearing morally correct in a group scenario. So therefore, I guess it's like they're upstanding postures and people who want political, or I guess you could say like certain level of political positions, in the sense that they are they're representatives for the rights that they themselves hold for other people, which is like, okay, social 2s like keep up appearances so that they can derive pleasure from being useful to everyone else by helping out the entirety of their community. Social 3s are essentially the core, I guess that's the thing. These core types, or no, instinctual variants sometimes go against the main drive of the Enneagram type, which people have talked about, and they're like, isn't this like a contradiction? And those are called counter types. So let's go to the social 8, for example. 8s by nature want to be by themselves. It's like that's like the point of the type. But a social 8 is like a counter type because it's going against this by being strong for the reason of being able to protect other people. It's not just protecting oneself and having that sort of self-preservation, like the self-preservation 8, but rather using it for the goal of, being there for other people. A good example of this would be like Gon, who basically, actually, maybe that's not a good example. Maybe like Luffy from One Piece. So basically his entire personality, I guess, would be it would also be to find the One Piece, but mainly to go adventuring with his friends and keep them safe, and go and see all these new places, and that's cool. That's against the type, but it's also part of the type. Okay, so let me go back to the social 3. Social 3 is basically it's the opposite of the counter type. It's like the pure type. It's like it is the instinctual variant that most represents the base of the Enneagram. I don't know what that is called, but whatever. It's basically, the social 3 is the most vain of the 3s. Their entire personality is based on good appearances because they care about that from other people. Social 4, I guess, is, his extent is to make to be the most unique and make their pain everyone else's pain by expressing that in a more verbose way. I think of someone like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, in the sense that he's like, he does represent for a community of people a sort of more, I guess, the pain that he expresses is something that everyone else expresses as a form of social isolation. That's kind of his personality. The fact that he's kind of like a mentally ill, quote unquote, loser.
He wants everyone to experience living in a society.
Yeah, something like that, and that's his social extent to Yeah, the society 4. Well, we found it. The social 5. I honestly think I might be a social 5, but I didn't know about instinctual variance until like a couple days ago for some reason. Even though I've been
What the
using the
fuck?
website personality database, it's because like I would always see like all these systems like okay, well they don't interact with each other, but now I realize that they do, and the complications of it. If you actually read
Okay.
up on the text, they're not scientific, but they're a lot more descriptive of something specific rather than being like, it's kind of has this area. It's like the difference between MBTI and Enneagram. One is very vague, but applicable, and one is very specific, but hard to understand. I guess that's why I now understand it because I'm moving from the sort of vague notions to something more concrete. The social 5, I think it's described as a totem, essentially, being a intellectual well that other people learn from, and also collecting knowledge from other people. It's the most extroverted of the 5s, while the other 5s are usually very hunkered down and quiet, and they don't talk too much because they use knowledge as a way to avoid the other world, as the head triad works. Oh, I should probably talk about triads.
Oh, stop bullying me.
You'll get it. I mean,
Alright.
it's just who you are, man. Anyway, the social 5 essentially is like, you think of this as the proverbial intellectual side. You know Senku from Dr. Stone?
I haven't watched that.
Literally like,
Whoopsies.
okay, hmm. You know Ginkgo from Mushishi?
Okay, yes.
Hey. Basically, the extent of his personality is that he goes around and solves these cases by communicating with the people and solving their problems. He is the person that people learn from. And that in and of itself is part of his personality because I guess he cares about the knowledge that other people give. That's why he goes and explores these cases, because even in the first episode, he takes away the little ornament, and like a couple episodes later, yo, do you want this? It's good for a good price. This is where I got it from. And like his Mushishi friends are like, yo, what the fuck? So it's cool as hell because he's like formed this community by, I guess, interacting with other people and learning more about it. It's like the knowledge itself is a form of communication for the social avenue that he cares about. His, I guess, extrovert nature. Even though he's a very solitary guy, he does want to know and learn more from other people. And I guess I kind of realized, damn, that describes a lot about me because I literally talk to other YouTubers now and learn all these different things about video editing and stuff like that and personality, and so I'm talking to you like I'm fucking manic about this stupid personality system that nobody cares about. But you do, so I'm gonna pill you. I'm an Enneagram pilling you. Anyway,
okay.
So that's the social 5. The social 6. Oh boy, I think it's a counter type, in the sense that the normal 6 is based on building these walls around him and being very secure and thinking everything is a threat. The social 6 basically, I guess, adheres to a specific philosophy. They're very much like ones. They adhere to a specific philosophy that they believe keeps them the most safe. Think of it as like, I think, I don't know if Lloyd is a good example, but it's been a while, man. Let me just look it up. What are some examples?
Who's Lloyd?
You don't remember Spy Family?
Spy. Oh, yeah. Okay, now I remember. Is that the main?
Yeah,
is that the main guy?
I don't know if he would be a good. He is the main guy.
All right. No, I completely forgot about it. It's not a thing in my brain. Who cares?
Yeah, Spy Family is
popular anime. Anyways.
Who cares about the stupid Spy Family? We're lost, man. Boom. I guess
Mic drop.
They adhere to specific philosophies because they believe that, or I guess social philosophies, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I how Lloyd follows the orders from his country? It's because that, even though it's like a kind of like a Cold War, and I think Spy Family is interesting in of itself, is the fact that it's dealing with very political themes, but it doesn't talk about any of them. Like, one of the main characters just likes murdering people for no reason other than she gets like a hedonistic pleasure from it, and she's like the wholesome woman, and I'm like, what?
It's a family anime. It's slice of life.
My family's
Who cares
fucking.
about politics?
It's slice of life, and then like there's this one the fucking arc where she goes on the boat, she fucking murders everybody in cold blood, and it's supposed to be cool. And I'm like, what is going on? This isn't this supposed to be like, how am I supposed to root for her when she's so morally like evil? Like literally, she enjoys murdering people. That is an evil thing. I don't believe in, you know, black and white morality, but I do think that she's definitely on the blacker end.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't just brush that away because she's hot. I getcha.
Wow.
So,
But yeah,
Booba.
anyway, the social six is based on an adherence to a certain a certain philosophy that they believe will keep them safe. So Lloyd follows his country, I guess. And have you watched Arcane? Arcane's another one of these shows
I
that has a
heard
lot
of
of
it. I haven't
Enneagram
watched it,
correlations.
yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's basically like you follow the rules and you'll be safe. That's where you get your
Okay.
E6 from, by being part of a community and being the person who adheres to the philosophy therein of the society. Okay? Social
Alright.
sevens, also kind of a countertype. I guess they're kind of like the head triad and the social instinctual variant are kind of at odds with each other, but they make for interesting characters. I will say this. The social seven, I guess, their basis is, you know, they want to have fun experiences, but that involves communicating and taking with and being within company of other people. This comes in contact with the fact that they are inherently hedonistic, and you know, they want to get something out of the communication that they're engaging with. So this results in kind of a weird mishmash of people who are very nice on the surface and communicative and talkative and kind, but they also want something from that that is not specifically just the intention of giving to the people. It's like a give, but also a take. And that's different from the two, which is all give, you know? So I don't really think I can probably describe it that much, but
Oh,
let's just move on. Social
cool.
eights, already talked about that. Social nines, same thing as a normal nine, but instead they're God, I'm so fucking
They're
tired. I didn't get any
social.
sleep last night. Social nines, it's that their inherent form of peace is based on a social aspect, and it's like a, you know, think of like your Hinata or your Shoko. Oh yeah, definitely Shoko from A Silent Voice. Definitely. She basically,
Alright.
you know, she feels bad for being unable to integrate within the group, but you know, so therefore she does kind of contribute to the best she can while trying not to be a burden on other people. It's like the happy middle ground for everybody involved, even though she can't properly, I guess, engage with them. Now,
Alright.
that's a social aspect. You could probably There's probably like a big paper you could read on all of these that have like a good 10 paragraph description.
You gave me one
But
yesterday.
I'm giving you all the cliff notes. Okay? Nobody read that. Nobody will ever read that. I only
Yeah.
read that, and I showed it all to my friends, and they were like, "Why?"
I was only interested in my section, I'll be honest.
Yeah. So, sexual ones. I guess I'm talking about the self-preservation aspect. I can probably run through it very quickly because by nature of what it is, it's kind of simplistic, you know? And I think you kind of get it. You mixed the core concept of the Enneagram with the instinctual variant, and you see what happens, because it's like the instinctual variant is how they act, while the Enneagram is their core motivation. So therefore, the instinctual variant of the Enneagram is how they act for their core motivation.
Oh,
Is it
okay,
a so?
yeah,
Do they act
I
social?
gotcha.
They act for social value, self-preservational value, or sexual value? And by sexual value, I mean like sexual is described as a more inherent, deeper connection rather than actual sex. But it is,
I was
you know, it's
confused
called
by
that for a reason. Sexual is like, oh, I have a deep connection with this. For example, a sexual five, their entire personality is based on trust. They are very distrusting of other people, and they want pure, you know, that's why they're in romantic relationships. They need very, very, very fucking clear signs, or else they just won't get it at all, or they care way too much about the past
Oh, not the
relationships they
Ben
have.
Sandwich
One good example of
universe.
this, have you read Pun Pun?
I did.
Good night, Pun Pun. Well, Pun Pun is a sexual 5, pure and pure, all right? In the sense that like his entire basis or motivation in the manga is because he wants the relationship with Aiko because they knew each other and were close to each other when they were kids. And all these other people, they just don't get him, man. He's like, he has trauma, and these other people, they don't care for him. So all he needs is Aiko. And then when he gets her, bad things happen because that's not how relationships work. Anyway, where was I saying? Where was I going with this?
There's a lot of sex involved with Neurosexual 5. Huh?
That's true. Haha. Not all the time, but like
for Pun Pun at
sometimes. Yeah. Huh? Anyway, I don't feel like I want to go into all the instinctual variants because I think you kind of get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Unless there are counter types that, at least personally for me, are very interesting, like the sexual 3, mainly because somebody I knew was probably a sexual 3, and I still think about them for some reason because I think their psychological hangups were like, it intrigued me. It's like, this is an IRL person, so I'm not going to go into detail, but like, yeah. Anyway, so now let's talk about triads. There's 3 of them. You saw when you saw the Enneagram, there's like a big Y. It split each Enneagram type into 3 categories: the head triad, the gut triad, and the heart triad. The head triad, or the gut triad are 8s, 9s, and 1s. The heart triads are 2s, 3s, and 4s, and the head triad is 5s, 6s, and 7s. Basically, these are the general categorizations of quote-unquote where these types come from. Essentially, you know how I said it's like the core motivations of the Enneagrams. They're based in certain parts of the quote-unquote body, and they categorize your psychology because these are where your core motivation lies. Do they lie in your gut? Do they lie in your head? Or do they lie in your heart? Okay? So let's talk about the gut triad. We'll move up. Guts, basically, they run on instinct. That is where they have their core motivations, and that is where they use their actions. They don't have to think a lot, and they don't have a lot of core feelings, but rather the main driving part of their motivation is fulfilling their instinctual desires. Okay? And there's not much reason to it. So essentially, an 8, I got low battery for my fucking battery. Anyway, probably won't take that long. Anyway, so the heart triad, the gut triad, are 8s. Basically, they want to be the strongest, or they want to be isolated, they want to be self-sufficient, and they want to be strong. This is not a very complicated feeling. Therefore, then the 9s, they want everything to be the same, not very logically sound. It's just basically a very gut feeling. Okay? The 1s are based themselves on a morality that they themselves adhere to, and that morality is not based in logic. Morality is based in their gut feeling, their instinctual feeling of what is right and wrong. Okay? That makes sense? The heart, I guess, generally speaking, is based on the desires of other people. Essentially, what does your heart say to other people? And that is the form of communication they feel for other people. Okay? So, therefore, something like a 2, feeling the wanting the affections of other people is something that gives their heart value, because therefore it's their value to other people, I guess. 3s, they care about vanity, they care about success, they care about accomplishments. They do this because inherently vanity is based on the opinions of other people. Now, not literal people, but a generalized sense of accomplishment based on a hierarchy that other people have created. Essentially, if you get good place at chess, who says chess matters? Like, oh my god, you moved the little pieces around. Well, it's because chess has been played for thousands of years, and these people have created rules for what good chess looks like, i.e. following the rules and defeating your opponent. Therefore, being the best at it means that, I guess, you're valuable to these people that care about it, and since it's instinctual, you are instinctually valuable. I wouldn't say instinctual, but rather the bureaucracy has declared you valuable because you're the best at something. And this extends to a bunch of other things. It's like, oh, what are you the best at? You're the best at a certain sport, or you're really good at math, or you're stuff like that. You know, again, accomplishments. Then the 4s themselves, they care about being understood. And I guess therein, the heart of your pain lies only there. You know, your pain is not a gut feeling, I guess. Or at least in the sense of nines, it is, but they bury it and sort of act within accordance to sort of just, you know, keep it out of mind. I guess, oh, I should have talked about this. Okay, so this isn't just where the heart is based on, but rather also what their core fear is, because that's another thing about the Enneagram. I'm going all over the place, but I'll try and tie it all back together.
Yes.
The Enneagram is based on fears or sins. That's why sin symbolism is you know how you said how it looked demonic? Some people say that's by design. Essentially, an Enneagram's core is not based on who they are, but rather what they hate. Okay? Or like what their core fear is. So the core fear of the gut triad is anger. The core fear of the heart triad is shame. And the core fear of the head triad is fear. Or I guess you call it like vice or whatever. Essentially,
the main fear is fear?
The main vice is fear. It's like they're by nature of why they think this way is because they are fearful of something. Okay?
Alright, okay.
So, in the case of the 8s, 9s, and 1s, their anger manifests in different ways. 8s are angry at, you know, the world, so they want to overcome it and be stronger than it. The 9s are angry at other people. I guess like it's a general anger towards other people, so they trying to hide it and subsume themselves into a certain simplistic reality, I guess, by doing repetitive tasks. And the 1s are angry at the world, so they try to conquer it by using their morality to justify themselves. The 2s feel shame because, of course, that's by nature. If they aren't the best for 3s, they're bad. If they aren't useful to others for 2s, they're bad. And for 4s, if they aren't recognized as themselves, they are bad. But this also works and wraps within itself in the sense that they themselves being bad is what makes them 4s, because they are misunderstood. And, you know, their identity becomes their pain because they aren't able to share it with people. It's like they want to be seen for who they are, being who they are. What is the problem? Because they can't be seen for who they are because they aren't like other people. Anyway, the fear triad is, or I guess the head triad is based on logic, and the main vice, I guess a vice, whatever, fear of the head triad is fear because logically speaking, they are all their decisions are based on, I guess, an understanding of how the world will damage them.
Maybe
that could be the same for 5s, but mainly it's the fear of it's a general fear of outside forces in general. This manifests most simply in the 6 in the sense that like they think the literal world's out to get them. This manifests in 5s because they don't understand and communicate with other people. So therefore, they build themselves up within these walls and create logical comprehensions for how the world should work by understanding specific systems. And that's why I care a lot about psychology, because quite literally, I guess, I wanted to understand other people so I could, I wanted to understand myself and other people. So I would create these, I would be engaged within these systems and understand, and also even just talk about like fictional worlds, because I like the idea of these concepts being manifested into animation or just in general art. But also it just came from an inability to communicate with people normally, because I guess that's the fear.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, that's a very thing. And then the 7's fear is generally just a lack of interest. They always want interesting things, so they're always seeking out new pleasurable experiences. Okay? So that's the fear is of getting bored. And you know, that is, I guess, like therein the 7 has a logical understanding of what they enjoy in life and what is, you know, and what brings them pleasure. And it's almost, that's why they're considered to be the most hedonistic type, because it's not an inherent love for something, but rather something that is giving pleasure because that's what it does, like alcohol or sex or I guess, video games, whatever. So, oh my god. Now, now we can talk about tri-types and fixes. So
Oh my
essentially, now that you have
lord.
these three types, these three categories, there are people, well, I guess people have considered that people have fixes. And this is sort of an extension of what are considered wings. Essentially, the way the Enneagram is structured, some people think, oh, if you're a 2, you either have a 1 wing or a 3 wing. I think this is nonsense because it's way too limiting of a descriptor, so I've been a more fan of tri-types. Tri-types are essentially, if you have an Enneagram, a core Enneagram that's in one of the 3, you have a fix that's in the other 2 categories. So if I'm a 5, I found this, I did research myself. If I'm a 5, I have a fix in the gut triad, which is my 9 fix, and a fix or my 9 wing or whatever, and I have a fix in the heart triad, which is my 4 fix.
Okay, hold on. Is this the arrows that point to other things? Is that what the tri-types are talking about? God damn it. Every time I try to understand it, I can't reach it.
Okay, so essentially, like, these are just, like, generally, it's a way to complicate things in the sense that a person can have one of each category and they show more of it. Now, again, this leans into my criticisms of the MBTI system, but since each one is already a preordained specific concept, I tend to give it more of a pass because it's not like, oh, what is phi, what is ni, what is SI, no, these are defined personality concepts. Well, those arrows you see, those are called the harmonic and Harnovian groups. Essentially,
hemorrhoids.
Oh my god, I have to look this up because harmonic groups Enneagram explained.
Demonic.
So essentially, helps show, okay, Enneagram harmonic groups help show how each type copes with conflict and difficulty. So essentially, harmonic groups also show how we defend against disappointment. And essentially, these groups are kind of similar in the sense that they deal with, this was made by a completely different guy, by the way. I think his name was like Mr. Harnov or whatever. Harnov. Or maybe I'm getting that wrong. The point therein was to, I guess, categorize how everything is aligned to explain certain personality traits that come from each individual triad. Okay, have you noticed? You see the arrows of the harmonic groups. Each one is in a different triad. So
yeah, I think so.
8, 6, and 4, 5, 3, and 1, and 7, 9, and 2 are all in different triads. So I guess therein it's like, okay, this is how one person from one of these triads deals with these concepts. And so the positive outlook group is the 7, 9s, and 2 that deal with conflict by having, again, a positive outlook. Sevens tend to, they avoid the pain when they're dealing with suffering. So by just indulging in different hedonisms, the 9s the 9s avoid problems by, wait, let me read this. 9s put emphasis on positive qualities of others and their environment, so they avoid problems with their loved ones and the environment and their lack of development. I guess they deal with disappointments by indulging themselves in a certain level of placidity. This is like, they return back to a certain ground zero. And the 2s deal with disappointment by being helpful to others. And if their needs aren't being met, they will meet the needs of others. And okay, the competency group deal with disappointment by improving themselves. 1s, 3s, and 5s. Okay, I don't need to explain, it's pretty self-explanatory. The reactive group is the 8, 6, and 4s, which is described as 4s withdrawals and seek support. They fear abandonment. I guess this kind of makes sense in like the fact that the way that they deal with disappointment is based on their how do I put this? They retreat back to their defense mechanisms of the types themselves. Okay, they're reactive. They're like, it's expressed
Alright.
anger, and they return back to being self-reliant. 6s want reassurance, so they return to being fearful, and 4s return back to wanting acceptance from the world, so they isolate themselves in their own inability to communicate. Okay, so
Alright.
I guess, and like, you can see how some of these are less healthy than others, but that's just how the types works, I guess. So these are the harmonic groups. I will be honest, I don't think I agree with these systems the strongest, because I don't see the use in them. Hornovian groups. Okay. So Hornovian groups are, okay, they are 6, 1, and 2, 3, 7, and 8, and 4, 5, and 9. So it kind of looks like 3 isosceles triangles. Okay? And they're all in different groups. So Hornovian groups by Karen Horney. What a fucking whose name is that? The Hornovian groups are based on how they interact with people to meet their own needs. And there's the compliant group, the withdrawn group, and the assertive group. Okay? The compliant group is the 6, 1s, and 2s, and they basically move towards other people in hopes of earning what they desire. Autonomy for 1s, attention for 2s, and securities for 6s. Okay. The withdrawn group is the 4, 5, and 9, and they withdraw the people in their own way in hopes of earning what they desire. And I see. So they are kind of the antithesis of what these groups are, I guess. The difference therein is that with the harmonic groups, they're trying to work with other people. Like, one group has the positive, or no, disappointment, right? One of these groups deals with disappointment in different ways, but they take different ways from it. With the withdrawn group, they don't want to do that. They don't want to talk to other people, because by nature of what the 4s, 5s, and 9s are, they withdraw from other people and to get what they desire, and their core desire goes antithesis to what the groups are categorized by. So yeah. And the assertive group is the 3s, 7s, and 8s, and they move against people in hopes of earning what they desire. So this is like this is a form of competition, I guess. Honestly, this is probably the part of the Enneagram that I feel is the most half-baked, but I guess this is what people have been talking about, because this concept, the Enneagram, has been around for decades, and it becomes more and more complex as people continue to reiterate on the theories. You're bored?
No, I mean, I was following pretty intently there. I'm fine with getting lectured. I think the parts where he talked about triads was where I was paying a lot of attention, and then after that, when he started making dichotomies between like 6, 1, and 2s, and 3, and 7, and 8s, I'm like, what is happening? What is going on? I don't know.
That's what the arrows means, okay?
I'm still getting a hang of, like, what the hell is a 1? What do they do? What's a 7? What are their motivations? I still need to remind myself what each and every one does before we get to making similarities and differences between them. Yeah,
I see.
big pacing issue there. I'm not caught up yet. I guess I'll have to read a bit more.
Honestly, I think that's all I needed to talk about, really. In general, each individual type has a core motivation, a location for its core motivation, and a way of expressing that core motivation. It also interacts with the other core types to manifest in different ways in different people. And therefore, you can connect that with different characters and understand why people type them the way they do. It's because they have these core motivations and also these auxiliary forms and different motivations that communicate in different ways. So it's like the tri-type is like, oh, you got this, but you also have these other motivations that either complement or contradict or are in conflict with each other. Okay?
Alright.
And then you also have the extinctual variants, which explain how the core motivation is acquired. And that can lead to different manifestations of the tri-types. Well, sometimes not really, but you get it, all right? It's like this is what interesting about me, because it's kind of like an iceberg. You see these 3 types, and you're like, okay, that's very simple. But when you start like combining them and understanding how they come into play and how they interact with other people and what they and what their core desires are, and it just becomes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Ends.
And it never. No, I think it does. But there's a point where you're like, okay, I think I get it, but
Okay.
I don't know. I don't feel like I'm gonna. It's also not as like surface level, you know. You've seen people, if you see people that like connect 2 types together, and there's like this character has the same type as this character, and they look and act completely differently, it will be like, I feel like I'm not getting something here, because it's not as simplistic as MBTI, where it's like INTPs generally look and act the same, okay? Other than like the stereotyped ones, they're kind of like,
sorry,
not look the same. I think about like anime, and you know, there's a lot of INTP characters who are like these INTP male characters who are kind of like these teenage boys who are kind of like snarky and you know, kind of, you know, quiet and cool-headed and a little bit funny. And you know, I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. It's like something that younger people can identify with. But therein, if you want to have a more a clear understanding of what the character's desires are, you're gonna have to do a little bit more research and thinking and understanding of what the Enneagram's bases are. And that's why I found the Enneagram to be a lot more rewarding of a typing system than even like lexical or lateral thinking, because that's only 2 axes. This one has 9. Well, technically 3, but the 3 has 3, and then the 3 has 3 others.
Okay, let's
So
be
it's 27.
fair. I liked the neurotyping system because it was actually simplistic to understand, and I could attribute characters using that system much easier.
All right, then good for you.
Yeah,
no
I
roasting.
mean, I get it. Like, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. I'm kind of unsure if the investment is 100% worth it, but you know what? You seem very, very happy, so good for you too.
Honestly, I mean, like,
very invested.
it was more the fact that it made anime. I'll just say right now, these typing systems make anime more interesting to analyze. Just like
I
in
get
general,
that, actually.
of the fact that once I like see a character's core motivation, and I'm like, ah, and that's why they act these ways, and this is the core conflict, because it's in conflict with these other systems, and therefore the reason why they act the way they do, or the arguments therein, allow for a more complicated interplay with all these other characters. And I guess that's just cool. And even like quote unquote poorly written characters can fit into the system, because they, you know, I wouldn't call it like poorly written. It allows for more nuance, because you can maybe be typing something wrong just because the writing decision therein could have hinted at different characterization. By nature of what it does, it asks you to think more deeply about the anime character's motivations, rather than just their simplistic action, you know, basic core actions, or like, you know, why do they think the way they do? And it's because they have these certain fixes, and you can even compare them to different characters who are in different settings. One of the most interesting things I noticed is that a character like Kirito, so funny. A character like Kirito. Have you seen Sword Art Online?
Bitch, sorry, no.
Yeah, I know. Probably, you know, everyone's like, oh, he was one of the worst characters ever. And yeah, but if you look into his personality, you'll realize that he shares a lot of similarities with someone like Kobayashi. I know that might sound weird, but in the sense that like their basis is, you know, living, you know, I guess fundamentally being more solitary, simplistic people that work towards their goals, but understanding the communication they have with other people and working out those resolved issues. I think about like how Kirito solves the issues with all the women in his life, and how Kobayashi kind of does the same with all the dragons. And it, you know, it's kind of like, I kind of think about that one scene where, you know how like when Miss Kobayashi's
Yeah.
fucking, I forgot her name.
Uh-huh.
Toru. When Toru's
Oh.
dad or whoever came in from the other dimension and was like about to literally destroy the entire Earth, Kobayashi got mad at and spat back because he was, and it might sound like bad writing if it were in like SAO, because he's absolutely destroying this random overpowered ass, but it kind of makes sense within the context of the show because he's able. Kobayashi is able to resolve the differences by being sort of a lot more level-headed and simplistic, while in Kirito he's considered boring and bland. It's just a matter of setting and illustration of the personality types and their core motivations. While Kirito's is it's more simplistic and I guess more self-insert-y. Kobayashi is given flaws, and that correspond to that same personality type. She's slothful, she gets really fucking drunk, and she kind of has that stoic face in the sense that like when people talk to her, she's kind of like straight-faced, and nobody really knows how to really get understand her personality, but it's there, and I guess that's really interesting. I don't know. It's like seeing something like that and people making arguments for this sort of typing, it makes me more interested in anime because it makes me realize that these concepts have a lot more can be applied in ways that you probably didn't think, and it makes, I don't know, and it keeps me more engaged with the medium, to be frank. If I can like see all these different complex interplays going on, and that allows me to get enjoyment from the story by seeing different personalities manifest in different ways because of how the writing trends. Anyway, I've been talking for a while. My mouth is tired. Oh my god, I'm done. We're done. No more.
Great.
How long is this episode?
It's an hour and 21 minutes.
Holy shit.
Lol. I've been talking for 20 minutes. You've been talking for an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm a complete newbie to this whole Enneagram thing. I do find it interesting that a character that even in a shitty anime like Sword Art Online, you can make Kirito interesting. And that is pretty cool, if I should show myself. Actually, one more thing. I think the thing that gets me the most about the Enneagram after you explain the entire concept is that there's a lot of words like fear and motivation and instinct, and I'm like, those are not things people can control. And the fact that it's connected with sin and it looks like a demon ritual, it has like an aesthetic to it that I didn't expect, I suppose. It's about instinctual desires that dig deep into your soul, that control how you act without you even knowing it. That's pretty cool too. And you did make me interested, so there you go. We did it, everybody.
Awesome. I fucking did it. Let's go.
Oh, jeez. Alright. I don't know. If there's actually any like interesting reading sources that you have, go ahead and give them.
You want to tell everybody? All right. The easiest one I could recommend is Beatrice Chestnut's description of the Enneagram subtypes, all 27 of them, and it's a free Google Doc. It'll be in the description. I already sent it to him. It's really, really long though. Like if you want to read all of it, it's gonna take a solid 3 hours. But I don't know. I'm like deep into this and I'm having fun. Another thing I would recommend is the website Personality Database. Now, do not interact with the community. These people are really weird. But if you just want to look up like an anime or like a TV show, or like, I think the people though, they type actual like people like Elon Musk and internet celebrities like PewDiePie and stuff like that. I think that's a little, I don't like going there as much as like fictional characters, because by nature of how much information you're given with a story compared to like IRL, it's like you're digging too deep into them. But hey, it's there. Do whatever you want. It allows you to get more engrossed by understanding by reading on the arguments for certain characters and how they are based on certain feelings. What I really found very interesting was the argument for Griffith being an E2 rather than an E3. And that is a whole argument in of itself that has made people like really heated. But you know, it's a website, you know? I've been there for at least 2
Do
years.
you get a description of why they are in that type, or is it like a forum where you get to read people's
It's a
typing?
forum. It's like a voting
Okay.
forum. Everybody basically can like choose, or I guess like, you know, make choose everybody's type and be like, okay, this is my explanation, blah 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 blah.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Also, it's integrated with MBTI, I think, the last time I checked.
And there's like a bunch of other types there, but I don't.
Uh-huh.
I look at all that, I'm like, okay, too much. Never touching that.
Stop
All right,
them.
no socionics, no fucking a big five, and fucking oh my god, there's so many. Like if I just take, let me take like one, okay? Let me
Yeah.
take a look.
Focus
So what do
on
we
the
have? We have
Enneagram.
we have the 4 letters in the Enneagram. They have socionics, alignment, which is like chaotic neutral. Oh my god.
That's
The big
cool.
5, attitudinal psyche, temperament, and classical Jungian. And classical Jungian is like, well, I don't fucking know. It's like a different, it's like, okay, apparently the MBTI system originally was integrated by Jung when he came up with the 4 letters and their side function, but I don't know that much, and I don't care because I always thought MBTI was fucking stupid. Well, okay, now I think any MBTI is fucking stupid, but do whatever you want. I'll tell you,
I have
the
betrayal.
Sasuke profile, the Sasuke profile has 12,759 typology comments. These people, they just get into arguments all day over these fucking characters, and it's like, it's insane. It's insane. But
That sounds fun,
yeah,
but you shouldn't take it seriously.
I mean, people do take this stuff really seriously because I think it's like,
Oh well.
I don't call it like real, but it's something that they think is valuable. And at that point, I'm like, I want this to serve a purpose. And for me, that purpose is understanding myself, which I have come to, and understanding anime characters and enjoying their narratives more, which I have also come to. I don't care about making people agree with me on what character's type is by typing huge arguments.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, it's your free time. Do whatever you want, but like, please leave me out of it. Okay,
Alright. Let's link
I'm
all
done.
that stuff.
We're done.
I'm just gonna say that if anyone's interested in the Homestuck stuff, there is a guy called Orobarusta. He made a video and just an entire text called A Treatise on Classpecting that explains the entire system in his own way with a lot of flowery writing and also dichotomies between all the classes and the aspects. So yeah, we'll probably link all of the stuff that we wanted to show you in the description, so check that out. And yeah, we're done. Thank you for listening to this lecture. Hope you got something out of it.
Goodbye.
Bye.